Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. Pam Maldonado, joined by Kelly Stewart, aka Kelly in Vegas, and we're here to bring you our 5 against the spread contest picks for the final week of the NFL, Week 18. For the first time ever, we have a Week 18. What do you think about Week 18, Kelly?
It's so weird, right? And I told myself, okay, how did you used to approach Week 17? That's what I'm going to do with Week 18, and that's not kind of exactly how this is going down, right? So far, we've seen some COVID news, whether it's with the Dallas Cowboys or a couple other teams having some issues. Plus, we have to handicap motivation. Pam, I can't quantify motivation here. And I do think the bookmakers place a premium on a couple of these teams. But then do their opponents really care about playing? Do they enjoy playing? Spoiler. This is just kind of a, if for lack of better words, a mind fuck of a week. I'm going to tread really lightly here, play with what's been given to me, but keep it pretty minimal. I did play 3 totals this week, which is pretty unheard of for me. And then I only have one best bet.
I know you're talking about motivation, but I think if what we learned, if we can use it in any bit related, what we saw from the bowl games is people still do want to play. It is their final game of the season. It's not, maybe they're not motivated to like, oh, we're not getting playoffs, but you are still fighting for a contract extension. You are still fighting to maybe be a candidate on another team. You're still trying to find this is a job and this is still a resume. So people are going to reference you and say, oh, did you quit on your team when it didn't matter? Or no, I want that guy because he gave it his all. Like everything is a resume when it comes to this is my job. I'm getting paid millions. Let me show him what I got. You still have some of these teams. You still have some of these teams that are also division rivals. That's still going to be in there. Like you can go in there and say, oh, I don't care. But then once you see your opponent, your division rival on the other end, you kind of get hyped up a little bit.
I think so too. And you mentioned on Twitter earlier, you had a little parlay out there based on what people needed as far as their stat line goes and their contract. So I thought that was really interesting as well, because you are going to see some of these guys who maybe only need, for example, 2 passing yards, Aaron Rodgers, some things like that. You know, whether or not it does end up happening is yet to be seen. This is Friday, noonish on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. So we'll see. That kind of is one of those things where the last couple of weeks we've gotten late news after filming and decided to make a change. Both times we were wrong.
Absolutely. Stick to what we know, and whatever we figure out in this is what we're going to do. But this is the final week, and we did not have a 5-0, not once, but we did come close a couple times on the season. We are 48-37. I'm happy with how the season went. I was able to learn a lot, but I wanted to ask you, you've been doing this a really long time, and you're more of a veteran than anybody else that I know when it comes to sports betting. What sports betting was 10 years ago, drastically different than what it is now. In 2021, specifically this season, after COVID, after the pandemic, with a new Week 18, just everything in general, is there any bit of anything that you still have learned? You've been in for so long, but are you still learning anything at this point?
Yeah, I think you have to be ever learning, right, Pam? I got a text earlier from my buddy Steven that you actually met at the Texas game, and he was a little, we'll call it upset, right? He buys plays from a guy that we both know, and he's like, I just wonder if he just refuses to change his ways. And I said, well, I don't know. I've never had that conversation with him. And I think that's something that year in and year out, you and I do the same spreadsheet thing, right? We have our list down. I actually asked my Barstool producer, I said, hey, can you send me my exact list from Barstool? Because what I put out on Twitter for Barstool is exactly my own personal stuff. Anything else I play, maybe from something from you, Ariel, Megan, whoever, my buddy Chris, whoever it may be. And those still go into my spreadsheet because it still affects my bottom line. But I had told him, I'm going to go through there and see, okay, am I playing too many games? Am I adding too many second halves? What am I doing differently? Because if I only just played that college football and those best bets at Barstool, like I wouldn't have to do much else. So I think these are kind of a thing where we need to start evolving as people and handicappers, right? Every year at the beginning of the year, people do these New Year's resolutions, right? I think we need to have like betting resolutions. Like next year, I'm not going to do this. And one of the things I'm going to not do is second guess myself based on line moves, because I tend to do that more often than not. So that's the number one thing that I plan on not doing in 2022. You know, I gave out Texas Tech the other night in college basketball, and I did know about the injury list, and everybody kept tweeting me, "Did you see the injury list?" I'm like, "Nope, sure didn't. Didn't think to look at that before I gave out a play." The line closed 6. I still won by the hook because I thought even at 4.5 there was an overreaction. But at 6, I was sick to my stomach still. That gut feeling was still there that, hey, I'm thinking too much about this line move that maybe doesn't mean that much. Obviously, the goal is always to get the best of the number. The goal is always to get ahead of the market, but sometimes maybe don't overthink too much into that, especially in the college sports.
Absolutely. And I agree with that is sentiment wholeheartedly when you said I have to trust what it is that I do a little bit more. Trust, don't over guess the line move. Don't try to guess what the books are doing. You know what? You've made a prediction. That's it. After the fact, whatever happens is out of your control. What I've learned for this season is I have to trust myself a little bit more. Because as you mentioned, you have a spreadsheet for what you post to Twitter, and then you have a spreadsheet for like everything else that you do. Well, I have every single prediction. Like I'm a little different in that I have to make a fuck ton of predictions every single week because that's my job. Well, if I kind of suck on my predictions, I'm these are the things that I'm predicting. I don't have a strong sentiment on. I ended up going 57% on the season on absolutely everything, every spread, every total, everything for college football. But I have my spreadsheet, and this is everything posted to Twitter, and it's public. Everything that I posted to Twitter as a bet, I went 60%. So you should have more confidence in the stuff that you're putting money on and have less confidence on stuff. Well, this is a prediction. This is how I lean. So yeah, like a lot of the flack that we get on Twitter is like, oh, you suck. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I probably do because I have to make all of these predictions daily. But when I narrow it down to what I'm actually putting my money on, hey, it turns out I'm pretty freaking good. So I'm doing okay.
No, you're absolutely right. And sitting there and doing a show with you and doing a show with Megan and doing a show with Ariel and all these, we talk about tons of games that I'm never going to put my money on. And I think that that's the biggest thing. And once you realize, and here's a good example. When I worked for CBS back in the day, we did love, which means you're putting a pretty sizable bet on, right? Like you love this one. Like, which means I'm going to probably get to the window with this team. I like this side. Lean, which is just an opinion, or leave. I'm going to leave this one alone. And I really liked that scale because it gave me the opportunity to still say, hey, you know what? Here's my thoughts on this game, but this is why I'm going to leave it alone. And I think that that's kind of being in this media space is something that we have to adapt to. And once you realize like, hey, you know what? And people are going to bash you no matter what you do. You could literally say, I'm going to leave this game alone. But Matt Ryan, I think, has the ability to go off. We've seen this historically against the Saints. And when he throws 4 interceptions, they're going to go, Pam, you
all
suck.
in the red zone. All in the red zone. He gets downfield, and that's always the case. And I'm going to correct myself. I actually went 64%. 60% was on my spreads. And then with my totals tagged on, I went 82-46, which is 64%. Those are all the bets. So if you followed me this season, you made money. So all you troll haters out there who are like, oh, you suck. You're only at this job because you're a woman. You know what I'm throwing. Anyway, let's move it on to week 18 of the NFL. All right. So just a reminder of what it is that we are doing. We're putting together 5 against the spread picks in the NFL for a contest. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet, which are now 13-4 on the season. Automatically in is my best bet, which is 11-6 on the season. Last week I had the Broncos. They didn't come through. That's okay. If it's not my fault because all the COVID, it happened after the fact. And then people asked me Sunday morning, do you still want to take this? I was like, you know what? I don't know. You do with it what you want. The line has moved at this point. I don't know how these COVID changes are going to affect teams. And clearly it affected them. They were still in it. I mean, they didn't cover, but they clearly didn't get the cover because all the players that were out, that happens. That's going to happen. Hopefully 2022 is a little better in that regard. Talk about your best bet, though. I know that you love for the 49ers. I definitely don't disagree. So what do you think about the Niners this week? On the contest, it is +4 against the Rams.
You know, a lot of people ask me, what if it isn't Jimmy G? I don't have much drop off between Jimmy G and Trey Lance. So it doesn't really matter to me. And I know it should, but there really is not a significant movement there, at least as far as my numbers go. This is a Niners team that we know has had LA's number, right? They've won 5 straight. Yes, only one of those games was with Matthew Stafford under center, but it was right after everybody was trying to give the Rams the Lombardi the first time around. And the Niners, what they do, they rolled. They won 31-10. I do believe we're going to see another really strong defensive effort from the Niners here. And this is not necessarily a play against the Rams, but the Rams find ways to win the game, even if they look shaky. I don't think Matthew's fully healthy. We keep hearing through the grapevine that he's still getting these back spasms. This isn't a game that the Rams have to win, right? This is a game the Niners have to win. And while I do think that is already built into this number, I like the Niners to win this game. I took the 4.5. I sprinkled on the plus 190. So that's where I'm at with this one.
So there's a couple things for this one. I agree with everything. 49ers, they can lock up a playoff spot with a win, or they can even still lose and get in if the Saints also happen to lose. Both of these teams are playing at the same time, so you're going to get a full hard effort from both. San Francisco has won 5 straight against the Rams. The Rams can also clinch the NFC West with a win or a loss by the Cardinals, also playing for a home field in the first round. Stafford, though, man, what happened to him? I was so excited for him to leave Detroit at the beginning of the season. And after reading Warren's book, I was super excited about him being on the Rams. I took him as MVP. I took him to have the most passing yards, the most passing touchdowns. Like, I was super excited because I loved what I saw from Detroit. And now you're going to a better coach, a better team. The ability was definitely there. But then Stafford has thrown 11 interceptions in his last 8 games after throwing for just 4 in his first 8. For me, that is the sole reason why I feel really comfortable with 49ers. In the first game against the Niners, Stafford threw 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and was sacked twice, 5.9 in yards per pass. That was his second lowest of the season. Definitely this could be replicated because he's better. He's worse now than he was then. So this is a good spot. But there is some COVID. I don't know. I'm just like so scared to bet anything nowadays.
It's unfortunate, but you kind of have to tread really lightly, I mean, It is what it is. I had a buddy give out Dallas as his best bet this week, and not 20 minutes later, I got a text that 10 to 15 guys on Dallas out with COVID, and I forwarded it to him, and he's like, literally like, you are fucking kidding me is what he wrote me back. And I'm like, I don't know what you want to do. This is what happens when you have to give out best bets on a Wednesday. It makes it a little bit more difficult.
I do have maybe a little tip then. So a lot of people, it's the end of the season. Let me try to double down. Let me try to make back what I lost. Let me do this and that. You know what? I actually bet my least amount towards the end of the season for both college and for NFL. Like, my biggest bets come from like mid-season. I kind of start a little light in the early, kind of get a sense of what's what. And then as the season progresses, I'm making a bigger size. And then as the season winds down, okay, I drop back a little bit because we're running out of football, and I don't bet basketball. I don't bet NBA and MLB and all these other things. So for me, my options are running out. I do PGA and tennis, but it's still not the same as like football is always going to reign supreme, and it's always going to be my comfortability. So I don't put my same 1 unit. I put a half unit, and I feel comfortable with that because, hey, I don't have football tomorrow, and now we still even have playoffs. So you don't have to do 5, 10, 15 bets in the NFL in week 18. We still got playoffs. Everyone's going to be motivated then. Maybe COVID's going to be a little bit better in a few weeks. We don't know. So we'll see what happens. So just chill out when it comes to week 18. Follow our stuff, sure, but like, don't feel like you have to go all in because it's the last week.
Yeah, I would definitely be treading lightly this week. I mean, it's just what it is. I think this is one of those years, and I tweeted it out earlier, that we don't know what to expect, right? Like, so I can text my boy Ralph and be like, hey, Ralph, week 15, can you give me some trends and angles here for some of these dogs? I'm looking at these games. And he can give me a couple things for my media appearances to kind of back up what I'm saying. And it's interesting because this week, there is no data. There is no information. I mean, and so here I am going, I feel so lost. I mean, I can look at, like I said, I can look at the math. I can say, okay, look, you're paying a premium for these few teams, right? That we know need to win. I think that the Chiefs, which we'll get to in a minute, are also, you're laying a premium there because people are assuming the Chiefs are going to blow out the crappy Broncos based on recent performance. Plus, Chiefs lock up the number 1 seed in the AFC if they get this win. I think it's going to be one of those things where they might get the win, but 9.5. I mean, we'll talk about it.
It's a little bit more than that. So, okay, for this week, I don't necessarily have a best bet. For Yahoo, my best bet was Packers, but I actually took Packers at 2.5 myself, and then the line went up to 4.5, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do with that. But by default, it was Packers because Aaron Rodgers, he's still playing for some incentives. I don't think I want to necessarily put Packers at 4.5 against the Lions on the card. That's not what I'm saying. But I really liked the Raiders this week. So I guess I'm going to go with the Raiders as my best bet. +3 at home to the Chargers. And it's because I know that the Chargers, they're really good. And Justin Herbert, he's fucking phenomenal. If there was any player that I had so dead wrong leaving college, entering the NFL, it was Justin Herbert. I was one of the people that was like, you know what? This guy ain't going to be nothing. Did you see what him at Oregon? Nah, he was trash. And then look, he's so good. He's so good. And I get it. I was wrong. Never again. I've been right about a couple of other players like Zach Wilson. Okay. I'm just anyway. But like when it comes to the Chargers, I get it. They're a really fantastic team, super high potent offense. But look at who the Raiders have played in the last few weeks. They played some of the best defenses in the last 3 weeks in the Broncos, the Colts, and the Browns. Those are really tough defenses. They came out with wins. And in those games, this is more of a play on Derek Carr than it is against the Chargers, because Derek Carr in those games against some of the best defenses still threw for 75% completion. He had over 8 yards per pass in back-to-back games. And the Colts, he had a couple of interceptions against the Colts, but the Colts are second best in the NFL for takeaways behind only the Dallas Cowboys. So that's unlikely to happen again, because the Chargers are kind of in the middle of the field. That isn't their DNA on defense. They have such a susceptible defense. The Chargers have a horrible defense. So if I like this to potentially be a high-scoring game, Chargers are going to get theirs. I think the Raiders can hang because Derek Carr is performing pretty well as of late. And the Chargers, they are still bottom 3 in defending the run. And running back Josh Jacobs, he's not, I don't think he hasn't performed to the level that people expected him in this preseason, but he is maybe finding a stride because against the Denver Broncos, he rushed for 129 yards. I think that Derek Carr is the one calling plays. He's smart enough to know to maybe utilize him more a little bit in this game. The ability is definitely there. It's a must win for both. Win, you're in, and the loser is going to be on the outside looking in. And for that factor alone, like Raiders, I don't know. I like him as a home dog here. It's a tough one to call, but
I lean that one as well. I was actually just looking to see if I could get some news on Josh Jacobs because I did want to make sure that he was going to be back for this game because I do think that he's going to be an integral part of this running game. And that does make me lean towards the Raiders here. Full disclosure, I have a Chargers +110 to make the playoffs ticket, and I don't love it, right? I really don't. I know that they are a slight favorite here, and this defense, man, that's just where I'm at. This defense has just been on this freaking roller coaster ride, and I don't know if I can trust them. Bosa, he's got to put pressure on Carr if the Chargers are going to win this game, and I'm not sure he can do that. Carr has been really great, as you mentioned. I was not high on Justin Herbert, but I thought Justin Herbert was going to be just fine, and that's basically where he's at. Chargers have been terrible in prime time, and Vegas has been really good in prime time. That's really all I've got here as far as this game goes. I'm with you. If you say the Raiders is your best bet, looks like the right side to me.
I can see this being like a 34-31 game to either side. And hopefully it's the Raiders who come out with a win on a last-minute field goal or a last-second touchdown in the 2-minute drill. That's how I see the scenario playing out. High scoring because neither of them is up a lick.
3 versus 2.5. I think it's probably the right side at that key number.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jog that one in. And then I don't know how you feel about, you said you didn't like anything. So then let's just go ahead and just run through everything. Packers, Lions, any opinion on that?
I don't have a big opinion here. Look, Matt LaFleur goes out and says that everybody's going to play, and then all of a sudden they're not. So right. What's really happening here? And now the interesting thing is with LaFleur is I don't know what to take him as, right? Like I know Andy Reid lies. I know Bill Belichick lies by omission. Bruce Arians too, right? Like you know what you're going to get from some of these coaches. Ron Rivera is pretty honest most of the time. But LaFleur says he's going to play his starters, but how long, right? Like, are they going to play one quarter? It's kind of like preseason right now, right? That's how I feel like this is. Like, we know certain coaches pull their guys early. Some guys play 2 or 3 quarters. The Packers just don't cover in Detroit. That's my other thing too. And that's what scares me. I know we ended up on the Lions. I feel like I've been on the wrong side of the Lions all year long. So I don't want to back the Lions necessarily. Seriously, this is where I'm at with this week. It is all over the freaking place.
Well,
That
then
game,
let's go ahead and pass.
I feel like
Then
they're
let's
going to
go.
put up a fight as a divisional underdog.
The Broncos.
I'll
So
take
the
the Broncos with you.
So
I
the
will take
contest, okay, so it's kind of crazy because we always talk about getting the worst line and yada yada, and it is a contest, so it's constant. But the current line right now is Chiefs 12.
Oh, wow, it is 12.
So
I
the
just opened up the odds screen. I didn't realize it was up to that high.
so the Broncos for the contest, it is at 10 plus 10. But Casey, they are playing for seed position, but the Chiefs just need a win. They don't need a cover. And the players for the Denver team that was out last week, they were all out from COVID reserve. Some of them are coming back this week. Some of them on defense, some of them on offense. But since week 11 by the Broncos, they are 2-4, but that defense is still there. They have forced 5 interceptions. They've held offenses to an average of 312 total yards. The Denver defense players that are back, the Chiefs just need a win. This could be a backdoor cover. Drew Lock, honestly, I'm not convinced that he's like as shitty as people want to make him out to be.
Just
I think
as
it's
how
just
shitty
been
as Kelly makes him out to be.
it's just an unfortunate situation of like, okay, some of your COVID players are out.
Look,
Which
I'm with you.
players?
I'm looking at betting the under. I don't think that the Broncos can go toe to toe with the Chiefs in a shootout. That's just obvious, right? And so I could see this being a 24-14 type game. Unfortunately for the contest, that's a push, but I could see this being a lower scoring game. You nailed it. The Chiefs don't have a reason to cover. Yes, sure, they hate the Broncos, but they don't hate the Broncos anymore. That's the funny thing. I keep telling everybody this. They have been so dominant over the Broncos over the last
It's
6
not even
years.
competition.
It's been freaking ridiculous. Like, so I look at it like this. I think it's Broncos or pass. Broncos are not worth the money line sprinkle. They just don't win football games right now, and it's unfortunate for my season win total that Teddy went down. But yeah,
I can see
think the
why this
Broncos
line has
are,
moved to 12 though. So
yeah.
the Broncos, they're going to be facing Mahomes. How motivated are they going to be? We just talked about that. But the Broncos are going to be without 3 starters on the secondary. You have safety Kareem Jackson, who went into IR earlier this week. And then Vic Fangio, formerly ruled out cornerback Pat Surtain and cornerback Ronald Darby. So
Okay.
that would be the
That
reason
might
for the
add to
lineup.
it. Look, I thought at 8.5, what the bookmakers are essentially doing by moving it to 10 is protecting themselves in teasers, right?
Right.
Boom, they moved it to 10, 9.5 actually that's where I thought the line still was. That shows you how far behind I am on today. But at 10, I would have to start looking to the Broncos at 12.5. I mean, this has gotten out of control at this point. I think what Vic is going to probably have to do is run the freaking football. And in order to do that, it's going to have to get the O-line to be a little bit better. So I lean with it here. I'm okay with taking the Broncos plus 10.
All right, well then let's go ahead and see some other options. How about the Seahawks plus 6.5 at Cardinals? This was another game that I really liked for this week. The Cardinals, I know that he's good. Kyler Murray's fantastic. The Seahawks are packing it up, playing for nothing. First losing season. Pete Carroll, I get it. Okay, this is still a division rival. Russell Wilson is still probably one of the most competitive quarterbacks like in the league. One of the competitive players in the league. It's just not in his DNA to pack it up and call it quits. Arizona can win the NFC West with a win and a Rams loss, both playing for a potential home game. My question is, are the Cardinals even wanting to play in a home game? They potentially here are aware that their home game splits kind of suck. Kyler Murray at home has 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Kyler Murray away has 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The Cardinals, they have lost 5 games this season. 4 of them have been at home. And Seattle, maybe the final game that we see Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll together. This is, in mid-November, Seattle lost by 10, but that was against Colt McCoy. What did Colt McCoy do in that game? He threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is not at all what Kyler Murray does. He's not that passing quarterback this time in the season as he was earlier. He hasn't, as of late, he hasn't been. He's thrown for less than 7 yards per pass in 3 straight games. He's thrown over 300 yards just 3 times this season. He's rushing a hell of a lot more lately, which is really good for their playoff implications. That's what you want in a mobile quarterback. But Seahawks, I mean, it really is just more so of a play against Cardinals home splits, Seattle's Russell Wilson's last game with the in a Seahawks jersey, potentially division rival getting 6.5. Russell Wilson's not just gonna like roll up his shoes and then call it a day. He's gonna give up some fight here.
I know, but their defense rolled up their sleeves weeks ago. You look at the Lions. I mean, people were texting me late into the third quarter. Wow, are the Lions going to come back and cover this game? And I was like, nah, they're dead. But in reality, I was still kind of like refreshing the score because that's what that Seattle defense does. Look, the Cardinals were my best bet last week. I couldn't ask for an easier outright underdog winner. They basically led that one wire to wire, and I didn't have to sweat a single thing. That being said, I kind of feel like Seattle could be a square dog here. I could be wrong. I'm looking at the splits right now. Seattle's just not good on the road. Arizona's just not good at home. I feel like something's got to give. And I told you earlier when I texted you, I go, I'm going to be a terrible teammate this week because I don't have a big opinion on much. And this is another one I just don't have a big opinion on. Slight lean towards the Cardinals here, just because they did have that really nice win. But then I look at it from the flip side of, hey, Cardinals just off that really big win over the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, sure, it's a divisional winner, a divisional game here, but it doesn't really matter all that much to them.
So kind of no opinion. All right. We'll leave that
I
as an
told you
option.
it's going to be rough this
Okay.
week.
We'll leave that as an option. Another option, Bears plus 5.5. Okay, I'm looking at nothing but dogs here. Maybe consider some of the favorites, if there are any favorites. So Indianapolis, huge favorites, 16-point favorites to the Jags. But Jonathan Taylor, he's one of the players that I'm eyeing for a player prop this week, and it's because he needs over 200 yards to hit the 2,000 mark, which is what I had for last year with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry ended up hitting his 2,000 mark because he had over 200 yards rushing, and it was against the Houston Texans. This is a similar spot for the Colts and where the Jags, they can just run Jonathan Taylor up and down the field all day long, and the Jags will never get the ball. and the Colts can win like 20-0.
Yeah, 21-0. That would be great. I have the under. I would absolutely love that. Yeah, look, if that was something that I didn't consider, you're right. We've got just that one big glaring Jonathan Taylor that keeps people from getting hurt, right? And it's going to keep the Colts playing. We know Frank Reich loves to control that clock. I could be on board with the Colts.
Okay, that could be potentially an option. What about the Browns minus 6.5 at home to the Bengals? Joe Burrow sitting out. Joe Mixon, he's out on COVID reserve. The Browns, it's no Baker Mayfield. They're going to get Case Keenum.
There's a lot of drama going on right now in Cleveland, especially after that Pittsburgh game. Sounds like Baker wants out now. So maybe Odell Beckham Jr. was correct because there's a lot of issues. If they're like, look, I got Browns minus 1.5 in one of my other contests. A stale number. I played the Browns. I had to play the stale number, right? Because I'm first place. So I play the stale number because everybody else is going to play the stale number. And that's not necessarily the case here. I'd like to pass on the Browns, just given their recent turmoil. Any of the favorites that I am looking at, and I didn't play this one, and I'm now kicking myself. I looked at Ravens minus 4.5. It's now 6. I do think this Ravens team is going to want to go out on top with a win here. We're hearing lots of crazy things out of Pittsburgh as well, as far as injuries and things like that go. Yes, it's still a divisional rivalry, but I do think the Ravens handle business.
It is Ravens minus 6 in the contest as well. Percentage of Ravens minus 6. I have no idea. If you feel strong about the Ravens, I'm fine putting that in because I honestly don't have any opinion. Their secondary, like, tell me Big Ben couldn't have a good day here because of how trash the Ravens defense is.
I just know how bad Pittsburgh is on the road, right? And, you know, the Steelers beat the Ravens last month, 20-19 after getting 5.5. I think everybody is going to look at this again and be like, oh, well, they did it last time. They can do it this time. Lamar Jackson is going to be back. And I think that that's what this team needs. They need their leader back. No disrespect to Huntley. He's been a great fill-in. But I could see this Steelers defense who gives up, 38 plus points a game over its last 4 games on the road. I like Baltimore here. I don't think I'm going to get to the window, unfortunately, but since we're digging deep here, I'm pulling it out.
I don't think we're getting Lamar Jackson. He didn't practice on Thursday.
He didn't?
No.
My last notes say Lamar Jackson. Let me look him up.
That was posted yesterday. Remain sidelined at practice Thursday. We're going to see. There's no reason to play him right now.
Yeah.
Well, the line.
Right.
honestly though, like Huntley is good.
I think Huntley's fine. Asking him to win a road game or a home game by 6 or more, though, does concern me. That doesn't mean he can't. Last game as against the Packers at home, he had a shot to win it as a double-digit underdog.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I don't mind putting that in if we kind of don't have other options. Let me throw out a couple of more. We have the Bears plus 5.5 at the Vikings. That was another game that I was looking at. There is no Fields. He's out on COVID. So, but Cousins is back in. It's going to be Foles, I think. Is it Foles? Who is it? Dalton? I don't even know. I should probably know that before I'm spewing it out because I just read that this morning that he was going to be out on COVID.
That Cousins is still out?
No. For Justin
for the
Fields.
Bears. Sorry. Let me see.
Yeah.
I didn't even look. I did a little nod, if you will, to the Vikings, and then the line just moved, and I said, never mind. So we know that Matt Nagy's going to be gone. Justin Fields has been added to the COVID-19 list. He's going to miss week 18. Foles, no. Yeah, looks like it's
going to be
Foles or Dalton.
Foles did absolutely just fine. He's fine. So the reason why I was looking at even with or without Fields, the reason why I was looking at the Bears is because the Vikings, they're 31st in total defense. They're bottom 10 in opponent red zone scores and touchdowns allowed. And 6 of the 7 wins have been by 1-score games. I mean, that's good enough. The first game where the Vikings won 17-9, Chicago had in that game 2 fumbles, 1 missed field goal, 3 turnovers on downs inside the Minnesota 20. That's all scenarios that are unlikely to be replicated the second time around. That was earlier in the season. The Bears offense, as kind of trash as they are, has definitely still developed and improved as the season progressed. The defense is still there. It was a low scoring game. This line moved. It was actually 3.5 and it moved up to 5.5.
Yeah, I
just
laid
because
3.5 in a contest earlier, and now that I'm looking at this a little bit more, I think I might have to pass on even that. Look, I'm looking at the box score from December 20th. The Bears completely outgained the Vikings there. And guess what the problem was? The red zone.
Yeah, it was 2 fumbles, 1 missed field goal, 3 turnovers on downs. They went for it on 4th and 1 3 times inside the 20, and they did not convert. That was the reason why they didn't put up more, if not come out with the outright win. But now you're getting Foles, which brings a different dynamic. Then he has something to prove, maybe. He's playing for still remain as a backup, maybe still trying to get a starter. Who knows what's going on in his head, but he doesn't get that much playing time. So don't you think he wants to try to shine a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Look, I'm looking at Minnesota's home record, and they've been atrocious against the spread.
They're terrible
against the spread. I mean, as much as I love Coach Zimmer, I think I got to agree with you here. It looks like Bears are pass.
Bears or pass. All right. One other game. The Texans, a couple of the games. We can have Washington -7 at the Giants. The Giants, if we would talk about any team packing it up and calling it quits, is that not the Giants? They are just gosh darn awful. You have literally nothing to say. This is pure talking head over here. The Giants are trash. The coaching is trash. The players are trash. They're all trash. You can't do anything on offense. Last week, they were down 20 points, and they still were running the ball because you literally cannot produce anything in the passing game. Jake Fromm, whoever the quarterback is for the Giants playing in the week, it doesn't matter. They cannot produce 5 yards of offense. And Washington football team, I feel like just Ron Rivera would probably, what motivation does the Washington football team have to convert to cover a spread here? Probably none, but still, Taylor Heineke, he is still fighting for all these players. Taylor Heineke is a fighter. That's what I like about him, is he's gonna play until the last second of the game, until the clock hits 0. So if there was a team to back purely off of talking head, it would be Washington.
Yeah, I don't want the Giants, obviously. So you nailed it. This is a Giants team. I don't know, 7 points. I mean, in theory, right? You just said Heineke doesn't have to do a lot to cover the spread, right? As long as they don't turn the ball over, do anything crazy. Antonio Gibson should be back. They should be able to run the football against this team. But Washington has been so bad against the spread as well. That makes me very hesitant. But hey, I said last week, who the fuck are the Bears to be laying 7? And guess what happened? I was wrong.
They got stomped on. I mean, yeah, they stomped, they rolled. And then the
Yeah.
Giants, if I'm talking about all they're doing right now is trying to run the ball, well, you can't run against Washington. So if you're going to have zero success in the passing game because you literally just don't know how to throw a football, and then all you do is run and you're not very good at it, and you're going up against a top 10 run defense, I don't see how Giants score more than 6 points.
Yeah, I'm with you here. Like I said, I played a lot of totals this week, and I haven't seen a lot of really great stuff from most of the guys that I talk to. Sometimes they'll give you like a little nudge, right? They'll have a best bet on something that you may or may not have looked into. I wanted to make a case for the Saints.
I was going to make a case for the Falcons.
I was getting ready to say, I could see the Falcons keeping this one really close. Matt Ryan plays really well against the Saints. And that was kind of the issue is my buddy came in with a case with the Falcons. And I was like, all right, see, this is why I literally, if you look at my note sheet, well, it's over there, so I can't reach it. But if you look at my note sheet from like normal weeks to this week's, I've got like a third of a page versus like a full front and back page. It's just insane.
Okay, so then the games that we do have locked in are the Raiders +3 at home to the Chargers, the 49ers +4 at the Rams. It seems like we're just going to throw in the Ravens -6 because, like, fuck it, what else we got? I'm okay to leave the Broncos off because they have no secondary. So then other options could be the Seahawks +6.5 at Cardinals, the Bears +5.5 at
I think we got to go with the Bears, Pam. I think you and I both agree. I think you not only did you talk me into it, the more I was looking into it, it makes a lot of sense, especially at 5.5.
Bears +5.5 at Vikings. Then that's locked in. We also have maybe Washington -7 at the Giants. We didn't talk about the Texans +10 to the Titans. Titans, they can get a #1 seed with the win here, but again, you don't need to cover, you just need to win. They lost to the Texans 22-13 in week 1. Davis Mills in the last 4 games, he has 69% completion, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's definitely improved. The Texans won 3 of their last 6 games, 2 of the 3 losses by 6 points or less. Scary.
I really don't have anything on this one. Let me pull something up here really quick because I wanted to see in regards to that, because look, this is a Houston Texans team that we've shown that they have the fight, right? Which is kind of like what we were talking about with the Lions. Like, you know that Matt Campbell's going to have his team ready to fight. And this Texans team, given all of the craziness that they had, still showed some really great resilience, particularly at home. So Tennessee, not a great road favorite, as you know. And Houston's played pretty well, at least against the spread in this division. Yeah, I'll take Davis Mills here plus the 10. Is it 10 or 10.5?
In the contest, it is 10. Yes, in the contest, it is 10. And then throwing one more out there, the Jets +16 to the Bills.
If the Bills do not blow this team out of the freaking water, I'm going to be really disappointed in them. Yeah, sure. You know, the Jets looked good last week against Tampa Bay. How much did Tampa Bay care? Well, they cared enough when it was time to get the W. And they've had they also have had a lot of off the field drama, as we later saw. Look, I think this Buffalo defense is going to come up big. They have to. They should be able to sack Zach Wilson. They should be able to put pressure on him and really get him out of his little bit of element that he actually has. I think they should easily tear up New York's defense. If I had to pick, I'd lay the 17. You guys know how I feel about double-digit favorites on the road. They've been crushing, and we know how well Buffalo's played in the AFC East. I think it's a Buffalo or pass for me.
So then would you feel better with the Texans +10 at home to the Titans, Washington -7 to the Giants,
Falcons +4? But that was a nod to you, by the way, Pam. That was a long story of saying that I initially leaned towards the Saints, and then my buddy Adam started talking about the Falcons, then you started talking about the Falcons, and I go, okay, maybe I need to look at this one a little bit more, especially because the line opened 3.5. Now we're seeing it at 4.5 in the contest. There is a slight nod there to the Falcons, by the way.
It is still only, though, because like the Saints, they still cannot score. Last week was their first touchdown in 8 games.
The Saints can't score, and if they give up a ton of points on defense, which they haven't been, they're going to lose the game. And we know Matt Ryan, in all of his faults, can have a great game.
And Cordell Patterson, he did say that he's going to stay with Atlanta. It just seems like this team is positive vibes. So maybe, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Matt Ryan next season. I don't know if he's going to stay a Falcon. I don't know where we're going to see him. So maybe that's looming over his head of, could this be his last time he's wearing a Falcons jersey? The Saints don't score touchdowns. That would be literally the only reason why I back the Falcons, is because if you're going to be giving up if you're going to be scoring field goals instead of touchdowns, then yeah, I'm going to like the underdog every time.
Yeah, of course. Look, Saints is an underdog, a little bit different. I didn't bet the Panthers last week. Come Sunday, I kind of leaned that direction. And, the Saints had to come from behind to get the win and the cover, rather fraudulent, in my opinion, if you will. And so I think that the slight head nod here is to the Falcons. If you like the Falcons, I'm on board.
I kind of don't like anything. The only games that I liked, we've strayed off them. So the Seahawks, I was really the only other one that I liked. So then, okay, we have the Raiders +3 at home to the Chargers, the 49ers +4 to the Rams, and the Bears +5.5 to the Vikings. 3 other options that we have to fill up are 5: Ravens -6 to the Steelers, Texans +10 to the Titans, and Falcons +4.5 at Saints. Pick 2.
Why am I picking 2? How about I pick 1 and you pick 1?
Okay, you pick 1.
All right, I'll take the Texans +10.
Texans +10. So that would be 4. Maybe Washington.
Okay.
And that's not even on the list. but it's just
you like
the
Washington.
Giants.
And it makes a lot of sense to me. It's just I have these like weird, like I said, in 2022, I'm going to work on some of these weird, quirky things that I've had for a while. I don't like to lay road chalk. I never have. It's just kind of been in this weird thing. 10 years ago, Todd Furman came in the Don Best office and goes, "Congrats on your 3-0 day." He goes, "By the way, you'll never get rich laying road chalk in the NFL, kid." And it kind of stuck with me in like a weird sort of way. I'm not saying that I don't ever. I'm just saying that I'm adverse to it.
Tell me that you don't see the score, though, being like 20-3.
Exactly. They're not going to be able to run the ball.
So that's the only reason. And I fully get that. Don't lay chalk. I hate betting favorites. And am I going to get to the window with this? Probably not. I'm probably not getting to the window with a lot in week 18.
I'm going to get to the window with one of these and probably a little bit on the Raiders just because of my futures bet with the Chargers.
You're hedging.
I don't hedge ever. But like, I just feel really uneasy about this Chargers team. Raiders look like the right side here. At a 3, just pick the winner. I think the Raiders win this game.
So I'm going to put there into Washington because it's week 18 and I'm just going to fade the worst team in the NFL, and that is the Giants. And if the Washington football team cannot close out the season winning by at least a touchdown to the worst team who cannot score more than 12 points in any game, then fine, that's on me. That's fully on me, but I'm going to put Washington because at least the Steelers, like with the Ravens and the Steelers, like, I don't know, maybe I kind of really want to see Big Ben continue on this season. And last week was just like so awesome. And I like got a little sentimental watching him and it was just really cool. So like maybe he's going to suck against the Ravens, but the defense won't. The defense is still like, they showed last week that, hey, collectively as a team, we are here fighting for our quarterback. We believe in him. We believe in this locker room. This is what we've got. And TJ Watt still has records to play for. So he's going to go after Henley or Lamar. So maybe the Ravens win, but the Steelers get the cover. Like I'm really 50-50 on that game. So I'm really okay to leave it off. Do either one of us really want to have Matt Ryan in our final game of the season when we just talked about he throws 4 interceptions in the red zone against a Saints defense who's really good at retrieving interceptions?
Very good point.
So then I'll take Washington football team against the worst New York Giants team in God. They're awful. Okay, so that's our 5 then. We're going to do Raiders +3 at home to the Chargers, 49ers +4 to the Rams, the Bears +5.5 to the Vikings, Texans +10 at home to the Titans, and Washington football team -7 at home to the Giants. Anything other games that you want to swap out? Do you feel good about this card? One last chance for 5-0.
I am not swapping. We cost ourselves 2 winners by swapping. I'm done swapping.
Tennessee at Houston. Honestly, I'm just gonna roll with it. That's fine. Texans, Davis Mills. Come on, Davis Mills. Give ourselves a chance. If we get a 5-0 with this card on week 18, that would be only fitting.
I feel like that's what's going to happen here, because both of us are like, what is happening? This is terrible. We don't love anything. This is the week you get the 5-0.
This is the week you get it. When you least expect it is when you end up happening. Well, then that does it then for our 5 against spread contest fix. Do make sure to follow Kelly on Twitter at Kelly in Vegas. You can follow me on Twitter at Pamela M35. This is our final episode then, right?
Oh, wow. It is.
This is it.
Now I'm sad.
This is it. Well, you know what? I learned a fuck ton. I'm super appreciative that I had you on with me this season. It was a hell of a lot of fun. I learned a lot in the NFL. I hope you did too, and I hope all of the viewers did too. So I appreciate you guys watching and viewing and commenting. I appreciate it. So do make sure to follow us on Twitter, and we will see you in the 2022 season.